should at least have a few running tracks. Do you agree with that, Minister? Do you agree with the young people of Barbados who are saying to this government that if it is put in many stadia in the communities of this country, that it should find space, time, and money? I'm very serious about this for running tracks. Do you disagree with the young people of Barbados or you agree with them? Thank you very much.
Honourable Member, I totally disagree with you and not the young people of Barbados. These locations, and you heard the Honourable Member from St. James South clearly explaining the benefits of this. Look, when you juxtapose the money that we have spent on these particular facilities, and you're talking about this young people, and you're not seeing the stadium that you're looking for, I'm suggesting to you that in 10 years, the amount of money that was wasted on summer camps, where you had a situation where teachers who don't know if an egg is boiled soft or hard, that were catering to our young people that could not eat the food on a daily basis. And now you're telling me that the facilities that we're erecting around this country to benefit clubs and communities that you need a track. You clearly, Honourable Member, are really, really out of touch with sports. Because you mentioned one, I think you mentioned one, a 400 track would require adequate space to put down at different locations. What we have done, and I don't know a primary school on island that is not doing their sports on our pastures that we go and mark for them on an annual basis, and yet still they're doing records at knapsack. You're out of touch with sports. You should have taken the low day today.
Taking the what? I'm not hearing you. Taking the what?
I said you should have taken that low day today.
Low day?
A low day, so you're away from the house today, yes.
Oh, okay. You hear me in the budget? That's it, member? Honourable member?
Yes, I have answered your question. I totally disagree with you in relation to the mini stadium. The one at Gore Hill,
yes.
Like I said, we have done everything to make sure that it is safe. We have put in a smaller fence to ensure, maybe for your benefit, that we have rat-proofed the place. I'm just sharing with you.
All right. So we've had the Honourable Minister of Sport say to the young people of this country that under his charge.
You're saying that, sir, not me.
Oh, sorry. You're finished, Minister? Let's keep it cordial. You and I don't live like this.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition,
yes.
Proceed.
Yes.
Please.
So that this country has now heard the Honourable Minister of Sport say to the young people of this country that under his charge there will be no effort ever to install running tracks in the absence of a stadium, certainly not in any of the local communities in this country. The young people have heard that. And yet this government is talking about mini stadia. Now, I will follow up. I will go from the absence of any running track to benefit the young people of this country. Athletic performance in this country has declined, in case this Honourable Minister does not know it, regionally. But I will now go to the community centres. Is this minister aware that the overwhelming majority of community centres in this country are unpopulated by the residents during the day or night? What is this ministry's answer? I know you're getting help from your left. If you want the Honourable Member for St. James Central to join you, please ask the chair. But the question stands, is this minister aware? And this is no hostility. This is no hostility.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition, you have asked the question.
Yes, and the honourable member for St. James Central thought that it was his duty to
Honourable
interrupt
Leader of the
him.
Opposition, please give the Minister the opportunity to answer. Do not hear any asides from the Honourable
Do you
member
wish
for
me
St.
to
James.
ask the question again,
No,
sir?
I don't. You've asked it twice before.
Or
Allow
will the honourable member
to
gather
answer.
his thoughts? Let the honourable member for St. Thomas keep her peace. You're interrupting.
Honourable member, I really am not sure.
You're not sure? Okay. No.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
I beg your pardon.
Let him finish his response.
I was saying to
Your
you
microphone's
that
not
I
working,
am
sir.
not sure which community in Barbados that you're walking through when you're saying
Grisettes, for example, where I'm from.
where you're saying that our facilities are underutilized. I mean, you were here earlier
I
this
use the
morning.
word populated, that the community centers across this country, including
Honourable
Grisettes, is
Leader of the
unpopulated.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition, for the last time, please give the Honourable
Please, Your
member
Honour,
the opportunity
Ask
to
the
answer.
Thank you, sir. And
You are
please
speaking,
ask. Please
Honourable,
ask.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I'm speaking.
Thank you, sir. So is the honourable member for St. Thomas.
Honourable
We can't
Leader
have
of the Opposition, I am speaking. I have need to quote again from the standing orders of this House and ask the honourable member to abide by what the standing orders of this House say. The Speaker ordered Standing Order 41.1. The Speaker or the Chairman and Committee of the whole House, after having called the attention of the House or of the committee to the conduct of a member who persists in irrelevance or tedious repetition either of his own arguments or of the arguments used by other members in debate, may direct him to discontinue his speech and resume his seat. Honourable member, I'm asking you to give the Honourable Minister the opportunity to answer his question. Answer the question.
Guided, Your Honour.
Any other interruption I will have to give you the appropriate action, to take the appropriate action. This is not up White Park Road.
And
Thank you. We have students here, we have young people here observing these proceedings.
I'm obliged to you, sir.
Thank you.
And I am going to ask the
You do
honourable
not,
chair.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition, I have said you do not need to ask the question again.
No, I'm not asking the question. I'm appealing to you, sir, in your presidency of this exercise. And I'm going to ask the honourable chair to ask the honourable member for St. Thomas to stop interrupting every exchange between myself and the minister. It
Chairman,
reaches
sir.
the point of annoyance.
Mr. Chairman, sir, on a point of order. I have not yet this morning addressed this honourable chamber, and I will wish my opportunity when the time comes, if the honourable member for Christchurch South will behave like an adult and let this
Stop
chamber carry the
interrupting.
dignity that it deserves.
Stop interrupting.
Honourable,
Don't come with any
Honourable
righteous
member
indignation now.
Honourable Minister, you may proceed to
You
respond.
interrupt every question.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable member, look, like I said, I mean, and I forgive you, it is clear that you're out of touch with community
Maybe.
work and sport. So when you are saying that our community centers are underutilized, it is so far from the truth. I have officers that run projects at community level. Community development are also doing their own programs at these community centers. But I would allow the chief to expand on some of the projects and programs that are happening at these community centers that you are seeing underutilized. I'm not sure where, like I said, that you are seeing these things. Mrs. Skeet?
Good afternoon. Yolande Skeet, Acting Chief Community Development Officer. Well, to the statement of community centers being underutilized, community activities are usually predominantly held in the evenings. We know that persons utilizing community centers, if they're employed, obviously they will have gone off to paid employment. So therefore, community centers are utilized predominantly in the evenings. In relation to center use, this is what we term it. Center use has been so overwhelming since we refurbished quite a few of those community centers. As a matter of fact, the officers are usually inundated with requests on a daily basis to facilitate activities for several groups and organizations. And it has gotten to the point where we have to ensure that there is a running schedule, that you don't have clashes with center patrons. And the intervention is always there, because if there is center use being scheduled by 2 or 3 individuals, and this is predominantly on weekends. I had a situation just this last weekend, and this goes for, I would say, 90% of the community centers. So in relation to underutilization, in relation to, this is now the the end of the financial year. And in relation to community activities, we know that there will be a dearth of community activities for obvious reasons. But we know that commencing the April in 2025, we are going to see those activities again back at the centers. And in relation to children utilizing the centers after school hours, we have the installation of the mini libraries. So therefore, that also drives persons to the community centers. And where it might seem as though there is a dearth, we have 2 centers now out of operation being utilized by the Ministry of Education, relocating staff there, staff and some students. So therefore, we had to work around to ensure that the children in the particular parish, that those children were still had access to their classes. So in relation to the utilization of the community centers, I know, and the evidence speaks for itself, because the information is there, all of the center use, that is usually logged, and therefore the community centers, they are utilized.
Permit me, Your Honor, unless the minister is calling for other help, permit me to continue.
No need to call for help. Honourable Member, clearly your brief is flawed.
May I? Thank you very much. Now, it is not my practice to contend with the public officers who visit. I speak to the minister, and I hear from everyone. But it must now be something of an awkward situation if the honourable members for St. Michael Southeast, that's the Pine, the honourable member for St. Michael North, that's Grisettes, and the honourable member for St. Michael Northwest, that is Deacons, if they are now forced to tell the people in their constituencies that the community centers in their constituencies that they know to be out of use, that this government, through its Minister of Sport, is saying to those 3 ministers who represent those 3 constituencies that those centers are in use by the public. They're not in use, but let me press on. I will contend with the minister, not with his officials. I will follow up. The second question, by way of follow-up, I will ask this minister to engage at a different level and to ask the honourable minister if it is within his knowledge and experience that violence, the question of violence, the high incident of violence has affected the use, adversely affected the use of the community centers and the community playing fields? Simple question.
Are you talking about community centers in Christchurch South and Plainfield?
Christchurch South has only one community center, which is at Dover. A few years ago, we proposed to this government to have one built in the east of the constituency at Carter's Gap. I went there with the Honourable Member for Christchurch West and the Prime Minister, and they promised to build one there. So let us not distract the people of this country. I have focused on 3 constituencies that have community centers that are inactive: Grisette's, Deacons Road, and the Pine. And I am asking the simple question, in spite of the noises from the Honourable Member for St. Thomas, if it is in your opinion, let us raise the level of the debate above the noises. And I'm asking if, in your opinion, the pervasive violence that afflicts this country is affecting adversely the use of community centers, including those 3 all across Barbados. Express the opinion, Honourable Member.
Honourable Member, it is only your opinion that this is happening in relation to violence. You just heard from the Chief about the fact that all of our community centers are almost, overused in terms of activities. So I am not sure, and I again go back to the fact that your brief is flawed in terms of Head 91. I'm not sure if you're aware of a program called Project Dawn and what it is doing on the landscape of this island. If you want to, I can expand or have an officer share with you what is happening in relation to the reduction.
My question was about violence. I beg your pardon, sir. My question was about express an opinion as to whether the pervasive violence that afflicts this country has adversely affected the use of the community facilities in this country.
All right,
that's my question.
Well, let me answer you then. No.
Thank you very much.
No.
Good. Simple. I did promise you that the answer was simple, and you have proved it. You said no, and the public is hearing this. Now, the third follow-up question, Your Honor.
I'm a leader of the opposition. According to my...
I have 3 follow-up questions,
According to my... No, you can't have 3 follow-up questions with all of it. According to my record, you have exceeded your questions.
Your Honor, I asked about mini stadia. Then I followed up by asking about underutilization. Then number 2 question was his opinion, the Honourable Member's opinion as to pervasive violence. And now I come to the 3rd follow-up, in accordance with the rules that you laid down earlier, Your Honor. Please permit me.
Honourable Member, I'm sorry. We have to move on.
Did you say that we have 3 follow-up questions, sir?
We have to move on, Honourable Member.
As reluctant as I am, I will abide by your ruling. I will abide by your ruling.
This chair has ruled.
Thank you, sir. And I reserve the right to come back under this...
Honourable Member for St. Michael North.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to the Honourable House and, of course, the Minister and his team, representing Head 91. Let me start off by thanking this ministry for the work that has been done in St. Michael North to engage our communities. Whilst the Honourable Leader of the Opposition placed the Grisette's Community and Resource Centre in St. Michael North, if he actually understood the constituency boundaries, it actually does not fall in St. Michael North. I do thank the ministry for working with both MPs, in fact all 3 MPs that represent the interests of the people of Grisette's, in ensuring that over the last few years that center has been renovated and brought back to a working standard. And I know that the work continues there. And I am pleased to say that I have individuals within St. Michael North who have been expressing interest in utilizing the space. I just submitted a letter on behalf of one of my constituents to utilize that pristine location now for the conducting of some after-school educational programming and common entrance preparation for some of the young people in the area. So whilst the Honourable Leader of the Opposition is trying to give the impression that the community centers are being underutilized. I believe that the ministry continues to do the work and supporting and facilitating members of the community in engaging in the use of those facilities for the good of all of our people. Let me also thank you and your team for the renovations that were done to the Eden Lodge Community Center, which sits in St. Michael North. And that work that was done over the last year and 2 years or so has seen several persons utilizing this space as well. I must say, even as I have the microphone, I must express gratitude to the sports team, Mr. Merle, for helping us with the KFIL community in terms of getting those lights installed. And of course, the pavilion renovations that were done in that community, Montgomery, they're very pleased. And I can tell you firsthand, after those lights were installed and the renovations were done to the community center, to the pavilion, we've seen an increase in activity in that area, especially night activities, social activities, sporting activities, and the community is definitely abuzz with activity because of those improvements by your ministry, Honourable Minister. I look forward to the building blocks coming to St. Michael North and Eden Lodge and KFIL. I look forward to the renovations and installation of lights at Eden Lodge Plainview, which I understand Mr. Merle is on his way. So I look forward to that. I have 3 questions after all of that.
3 questions. Now, you don't have 3 questions, having utilized most of your time with all the thank yous, which you could have done at a more, I wouldn't say to you when, so I'll give you 1 question, Honourable Member.
I'll abide by your ruling, Mr. Chair. Thank you. My first question. What is the ministry's strategic approach to our community clubs? We have several community clubs, and of course, there's a concern relative to youth and their employment in positive activities, and community clubs have always played an important role in that. I would like to hear from your team, what is the strategic approach to supporting the development, expansion, and the sustaining of community clubs within our communities? I would love to hear from you in particular. How does your ministry support an individual or a group that would like to establish a new community club? What is the strategic approach overall? And of course, what are the operational step-by-step activities that the ministry engages in to help an individual or a community to establish a community club?
All right. Thank you, Honourable Member. I will have the Principal Youth Development Officer respond to you, but before she speak to you, what I would say to you is, look, for the first time in the history of Barbados, in terms of sporting clubs, we would have provided an opportunity for every single club on island who are registered, and this is sports, registered on the national sporting entity, to be able to source $5,000 in kind, where we provided an opportunity. We were not given hard cash, but if you said you needed 50 footballs, basketballs, and it add up to that amount, then we were trying as best as possible to facilitate that. In addition to that, on a regular basis, every single financial year, maybe twice or so, we provide an opportunity for our clubs to be trained. We have leadership training because we believe that community clubs can benefit not only the youngsters, but by extension the community if they function at the optimal level. And we have provided an opportunity for training in terms of project writing, in terms of how to manage the whole affairs. We've also suggested some of the projects that they undertake in order to keep them viable and moving. Because from being involved in the process, if you come every single month when you meet and all that you have is a talk shop, then eventually the attendance will wane and the club will eventually die, because nobody wants to just come in here about the reports from the secretary, things of that nature. So we have provided an opportunity to provide training on a regular basis to sustain the clubs. And where there's a new club, my officers will go in and provide the information as to how to get that particular club up and running. Yeah? So I'm going to ask the Principal Youth Development Officer, Mrs. Titus, to speak to you in relation to some of the additional things that are happening to benefit clubs at the community level.
Good morning, Andrea Titus, Principal Youth Development Officer. In relation to the question that has been asked, let me add to what the Minister has shared with you. Now, the youth and community organizations, we focus a lot on group management and group dynamics. Quite recently, in November last year, we had a workshop for youth and community organizations, and we had at least about 66 youth representatives from across various youth and community groups at this particular workshop. We looked at leading with a vision, knowing your role, the power of self-awareness, and emotional intelligence, and the social media landscape. Our approach to empowering these youth leaders is more of a needs assessment. We are not the ones that come up with these topics. These youth organizations say to us, this is how we want to benefit and this is how we want to grow. In addition to that, the previous session we had looked at grants. They are the ones who wanted this grant proposal writing, and what we did is provide the opportunity for them to be empowered with these skills. So these are some of the things that we do at the ministry in relation to empowering these youth organizations. We also keep a booklet as well as of all of the youth organizations. They have to be registered at the ministry, so there's a form that you can fill out. And we also make this information available to the public as well. So we usually keep the youth and community groups engaged. They form part of our cohort of persons who we reach out to make sure that they're empowered with the necessary skills to whatever interest that they have, whether it is a community group, a social group, a cultural group. So these are some of the things that we offer from the Ministry of Youth. Thank you.
I know the chairman has limited me to one question. I do think that it is important for us to express appreciation to officers when they're doing a good job, so I will not withdraw from that. And even as I will take this opportunity, we'll still have the microphone that's not been muted, I will ask a second question relative to the youth advance. Relative to
Honourable
the
member. You
Mr.
will not
Chairman,
ask a second
I do
question.
not.
You cannot
Mr.
disregard.
Chairman, other.
Honourable member, you cannot disregard the ruling of this chair. You have the opportunity to come back. You cannot disregard. It will not be tolerated. Honourable member for St. Michael, South Central.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me try and keep it tight. Much has been said of the center management committees and similarly of the extended hours that we've been seeing in the, well, I don't have community centers in St. Michael South Central, but to be honest with you, I don't really draw a line between a pavilion that functions in a community and a community center. I don't have a choice. I use my pavilions as community centers. But let me ask a question that is less about policy and operations and more about structure. Last time I was here in this place talking with you, Minister, and your team, I had occasion to let the country know that I myself had to take on a lot of the refurbishment of the two pavilions. Since then, we've returned to the boxing classes with help from the National Sports Council, and the community, and this is at Gully Hill, and the pavilion at Gully Hill has also been enjoying these extended hours, having a second person in place, which I think is a tremendous effort. However, you know, Minister, that I wasn't waiting for you to ask me for center management committees for my pavilions. And certainly for Valerie, they have already met. Names have already been submitted. These people are ready to go. But the question is, what are the rules and the norms that are meant to govern how they function as well as how the staff that are at the pavilions in the evenings going to function. Because, for example, the young woman who's at Gully Hill is keen, is on it, is focused, is plugged in, but what resources does she have? Similarly, for the center management committees, there are things they want to execute. So to bring a bunch of volunteers together and say, carry on with no resources, I'm not sure how that is to work. So what are the rules? What are the norms? What are the resources? What is the real structure that is meant to allow these groups and these individuals to deliver now that you've put them in place?
Thank you, Honourable Member. There's a document that will guide the process in terms of how those center management committees will function. The truth is that we are asking them, similar to what you're suggesting, that they submit project proposals to us in terms of things that they figure should happen within the community. There's a youth officer that will be attached, and they can funnel whatever request, whatever proposal that they're looking for through the youth officer so that we can execute at that particular level. Look, one of the things that government is trying to do through my ministry is to broaden all of our programs to be impacting at community level in a significant way. Hence, we have identified satellite locations. I mentioned in the beginning the ES labs that we would have started in St. Peter. So if there is a project that your center management committee want to execute, all they need to do is to get in contact with the youth officer. If it is something that would require documentation, meaning if there's a need to put it in a project form, the officer can do that. If it is something that we can run just like that with support from the ministry, then we will do such. So we will share the document with you in terms of how those committees are supposed to function, but it is really to buttress the work of our officers who would work up until 4:30 in some cases, and then those community centers or pavilions are closed. The center management committee will come in and go for a period of, like, let's say up to 11 o'clock on any given day. I hope I answered your question.
You have, thank you, Minister. My follow-up related to that, though, has to do with a program that you started, again, at the level of the community, the Building Blocks program, that was meant to provide entrepreneurship opportunities in situ, where people live. And I really am trying to get some clarity on how this is now being executed, and I'll tell you why. You are aware, every Minister of Youth, I think, has come to tour Halls Road with me at some point, and at the time it was meant to be executed by Building Blocks. It was then shifted. We said it would be executed by the Urban Development Commission. In recent times, the Department of Commerce of the Ministry of Business Development has now recalled that it is meant to execute vending zones. And so it is not clear for me, especially in cases where, quite frankly, and this is meant to be no reflection on you, Minister, I'm not sure that a Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment is an infrastructure ministry. And I think that's something that we have to get clear. Senior ministers have been installed, I'm told, to coordinate these matters, and I think that there needs to be a central place that deals with infrastructure. But that being said, in cases where the Sports Council, for example, struggles with maintenance and the resources so to do, including skills, where are we going with these entrepreneurship opportunities for young people? Are these meant to be continued from an infrastructure perspective by your ministry, or are we meant to see them across different ministries? Can you give us some feedback on that?
Thank you, Honourable Minister, Honourable Member. Look, I've been working for a while with Senior Minister in relation to the building blocks. One of the issues that we had, the price point for the original building blocks were coming in way, way too high. and a decision was taken to move away from the bricks and mortar solution and to look at the container solution that is way, way cheaper in terms of having these particular kiosks up and ready throughout the island. And we are now waiting to see what is the cost of landing these containers before we again get up and running in terms of the execution of these particular kiosks across the area. I am familiar with your concern in terms of what was proposed for you, and I think your situation is now being rectified in terms of who will be the ones constructing your particular kiosk at the location in Halls Road. But I will allow the director to come in and share some more information in terms of the building blocks project.
Good afternoon to the members of the House, Cleviston Hunt, Director of Youth Affairs, and thank you for your question, Minister. I'm not certain there's much more to share other than what the Minister has said. Minister, you have outlined the historical movement in relation to the project at Halls Road, initially starting in the Ministry of Youth, and then we had some discussions with the BTII in relation to the ministry and the BTII being the ones to execute the project. And finally, in relation to the movement, it has moved now to the Rural Urban Development Commission for the project to be executed. As the minister pointed out, there were challenges in relation to the cost of the project. It was felt as though the project was coming in at a cost that was way above what was anticipated. And therefore, there was discussion also about new modalities to be able to deliver the project. And I think the minister was already pointed out earlier in his discussion that the container modality was one that we looked at in relation to being able to advance the project and being able to find an alternative that was much cheaper. So we at the ministry, we are currently waiting, we're having discussions still with the Rural Urban Commission to determine what is the next steps in relation to the project. But for all intents and purposes, the project will be delivered through the Rural Urban Development Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. I almost asked you if you mean the same container suggestion that I made 2 years ago, but I'm sure that we'll revisit that in time. My final question, Chair, has to do with a program that I think the ministry has been, I don't want to say quietly delivering, but certainly the impact has been perhaps greater than the noise the ministry has been making about the program. And I almost don't know what to call it because there's so many programs that sometimes it is hard to remember which one is which. These estimates make reference to a block transformation program, I believe, that I believe is an evolution from something else. But really what that has been doing is to be going to young people where they are, finding out what their entrepreneurship goals are, and supporting them on the ground. From my experience, this has worked extremely well for groups of young people in St. Michael South Central. My concern, however, is that after the first engagement, after the initial engagement, that we need to make sure that these businesses succeed and that these young people continue to find work and continue to be engaged. Among the many programs that you have to support entrepreneurship, what is the scope and what are the plans to keep some of these young people? I mean, we know how small business goes on the ground in communities. Sometimes you start 1 year and sometimes by year 3, it's folded or you're not sure where you're getting your next set of work from. So what is the scope and what are the plans to keep these young people engaged and make sure that they're doing all that they can to keep these businesses functioning, many of which employ their neighbors and their friends and keep them occupied?
Thank you for the question, Honourable Minister. Look, the truth is, in the early 2000s, there was a program similar to Project Dawn called Project Oasis that we were going on the block, and I will ask Marcus to come in after me. We were going on the blocks across this island, and like you said, meeting the young people who were there on the blocks at the location. And we were walking at that time with what I call a basket of deliverables that we are still walking with in order to energize those young people and to provide training where training was not possible. And I mean literally possible, because one of the things that was required at the SJPI is that you had to be in possession of 4 or 5 CXCs in order to source training at the location. And we short-circuited that by providing an opportunity to, in some cases, bring in our own tutors under the supervision of the SJ, on the Polytechnic at the time, to do that. The Democratic Labour Party, in their wisdom in 2018, canceled the program, and by that, shut off the assistance that were going to a number of our young, not only males, but females who congregated on the blocks across this country. In 2003, we would have restarted the block committee, and it would have mushroomed into Project Dawn, where there's now a dedicated team that is on the ground who would have visited X amount of blocks that I'm sure Marcus would provide. And we would have started maybe in excess of 20 or so new groups. The plan is, wherever possible, a number of those businesses that were started revolve around landscaping, and we have provided an opportunity to utilize some of these businesses in order to help them sustain themselves and to grow on the landscape of this island. But I will ask Marcus to come in and provide some information, and if necessary, I will come back to share additional information. Marcus.
Marcus Stevens, coordinator of the Block Transformation Unit. The Block Committee was a 3-member team. Myself, Shane Haynes, and Hassani Newsom. We traversed blocks across Barbados in every single constituency. To date, we have visited 181 blocks. We have started 41 businesses, and 17 has been registered with the Ministry of Agriculture, BADMC. Coming out of the businesses, as the Minister indicated earlier, landscaping businesses, valet, persons who are interested in cosmetology. Coming out of the landscaping businesses, as if you had attended the graduation, the gentleman, Mr. What is his? George. Is his surname? Yeah, George Oliver indicated that he had received contracts coming out of the setting up his business. He had received small contract with the government, and that's the way that we are going. During our summer camps, persons are given contracts as well, the cleaners, to clean the school or the community centers. At the time, it was just a 3-member team. However, the Block Transformation Unit now will be an 8-member team, which will allow us to do more tracking and be more able to interact with the businesses and do follow-up and try to, as much as possible, point them in the right direction. And we are not only dealing with government agencies, There are private entities that contact the ministry on a daily basis, asking for persons to do work for them.
What I would add to that, Honourable Member, is the fact that within the ministry is the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme. So if there's any additional guidance in terms of how those businesses that Marcus would have mentioned, Mr. Stevens would have mentioned, if there's an additional need for help, then we can channel them in the direction of the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme to kind of strengthen their capacity.
Thank you, Chair. That was my last question, just to say that I'm happy to hear that we are able to convert this outreach and this engagement into substantive income earning opportunities through government procurement, which really is the point of government's program of economic enfranchisement. That is economic enfranchisement in action. Hopefully, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition will not have any problems with those consultancies, because that is what they are. Those are the means by which regular people get opportunities. And I congratulate the ministry for that initiative.
Thank you, Honourable Member for St. Michael Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, good afternoon to the Minister and his team. My first question relates, sir, to the Deacons Development Center. This is a center that was mismanaged by the last administration. And since then, I'm grateful to have that property transferred from the Ministry of Education to the Ministry of Youth. Sir, can you shed some light in relation to your plans for that facility within this, or within the next financial year? That's my first question.
All right. Thank you, Honourable Member. Yes, that facility was transferred to the Ministry of Youth. One of the things we're looking at is to turn that facility into the first youth center on island. So plans are in train to see how we can flesh out all of that to ensure that we have a hub at one particular location that will provide an extensive range of training for our young people. I believe it is ideal. The condition is we need to do some repairs at the location to bring it back into a prime state, and we're looking to see how we can cost out that. But I will also ask the director or PYDO, Mrs. Titus, to provide some additional information in terms of what we're looking to do with that location and converting it into a full youth center, the first on island.
Mr. Hunt, Director of Youth Affairs. The Deacons Development Center is a massive complex. I think that is known to all. And as the Minister pointed out, it provides us with the opportunity to do some really significant work, not only the Deacons area, but also in the areas that are surrounding the center. As a ministry, I think we only got the permission to have the center late last year, and we'd made visits to the center along with the sitting MP for the area. And we did identify a number of areas that we need to work on in relation to rehabilitating the center. We have also conducted an assessment with having the architects as well as the engineer around to examine the structure and also to make some recommendations in relation to what is required to actually bring the center back into an area and into a state that the ministry can make the maximum use of it. We have also had discussions in relation to planning for the types of programming that will be required. And one of the things that we are also looking at is to also come into the areas to have discussions with the residents of Deacons to also have them have some input in relation to the types of programming that they want to see happening right there within the center. So we are at that state where we are still doing the planning and the assessment. And of course, we will keep you involved and engaged in the process as we go on.
With all being said, all I'm trying to confirm is all of the plans that were just outlined, this will start within the next financial year?
Some of the work, Honourable Member, will start within the new financial year. As you would have heard, the architects and I guess the engineers will be the first one to go in to check the integrity of the walls and to make sure that we have everything fit for purpose. So it will be started in the new financial year.
Thank you, sir. We'll hold you and your ministry to that, along with the people in Deacons. Good. My second question relates to lights that I had requested under a previous minister, the former minister John King, to be installed on Ellerslie pasture. To date, nothing haven't been done, and I'm trying to find out if or how soon will those lights be installed on Ellerslie pasture 1, and also for the lights to be upgraded on the Ferniehurst pasture.
All right. Thank you. I'm aware that what we were trying to do as far as the lighting program, and it is an extensive lighting program, is to go as much as possible to those fields that were more in the public domain than the ones that were attached to schools. But I will ask Mr. Matthias to share information in relation to what is being proposed for those locations that you have identified.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nicholas Matthias, Senior Superintendent of Works, National Sports Council. I will look into the Ellerslie request that you would have mentioned just now. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. So I will look into that. Ferniehurst is also earmarked for new lights as part of that shipment that's coming in on March the 7th. Ferniehurst has been earmarked. To explain that even further, the PE teacher at Eagle Hall Primary is on my case about it. So I'm very aware that Ferniehurst will get their lighting upgrade in the very soon to see future.
Okay, thank you. And my final question relates to the building blocks program. Well, I had previous tours with previous ministers. To date, everything is still at a standstill. Minister, can you give me an update on what is happening to the building blocks project that was set for Golden Acre housing area?
All right, Honourable Member, as mentioned before, there's a rethink in terms of the solutions for the building blocks, and we're now looking or embracing the container solution as opposed to bricks and mortar. So plans are still very much in place in terms of the erection of the building blocks at all the locations that were identified. It's just a matter of time. Like I said, we are trying to see how best we can bring down the cost. We found that solution. So as soon as we are able to get a definitive costing, then we will be again rolling in terms of the installation of those blocks at your locations and other locations that are currently outstanding.
Thank you very much, sir. I look forward to that.
Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I beg to move that you do not report progress to His Honor the Speaker and beg leave to sit again.
The question is that I do not report progress to His Honor the Speaker and beg for leave to sit again. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
break for lunch, I wish to welcome students from the Barbados Community College who are upstairs. I hope that you are having an enthralling episode whilst you see the engagement between parliamentarians. That is the members on one side and the leader of the opposition from the other side. So I hope you are getting a feel for the rigors of parliamentary debate. Honourable Leader Government, the chairman of committees have reported progress and request leave to sit again. Honourable Leader Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until 2:30 p.m.
The question is that this honourable chairman be suspended until 2:30 p.m. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honourable chairman stands suspended until 2:30 p.m.